In the quiet hours before dawn, when the palace torches flickered like tired stars, the emperor of a mighty realm made a decision so small, so ordinary, so unremarkable, that no one in the court even looked up. Yet that single decision, that one moment of misjudgment, would unravel centuries of glory. It would weaken a kingdom thought to be unbreakable. It would open doors no enemy should ever have been able to enter. This is the story of an empire that did not fall in a day, nor in a single war, but in a moment that slipped through the cracks like sand in an hourglass. Tonight, let us drift back gently to a forgotten world, to the empire that vanished because of one mistake. Slow your breath, settle your mind, and follow me into the dusk of a civilization. Long before its downfall, the Empire of Aranthia stood like a golden crown upon the world. Its marble cities shimmered under the sun. Its soldiers marched with impossible discipline. Its scholars filled libraries with wisdom. And its borders stretched so far that travelers joked the empire had swallowed half the horizon. Aranthia had risen from a desert tribe centuries earlier, and through courage, diplomacy, and almost divine sense of timing, it had grown into a titan. At the heart of this powerful realm was Emperor Lyson Ardanus, a man born into peace, not forged in war. He was kind, thoughtful, deeply educated, yet dangerously sheltered by a lifetime of prosperity. Aranthia had not lost a major battle in over 150 years. Generals boasted, nobles indulged, and even common villagers believed nothing could shake their mighty homeland. Storms do not trouble mountains, they said. Enemies fear our shadow. Confidence slowly became arrogance. Arrogance quietly became blindness. The emperor inherited a kingdom convinced of its own immortality, and that belief, like a hidden crack beneath a grand statue, was already spreading. At council meetings, when advisors warned that rival clans in the north were uniting, the emperor waved the reports aside. "Our walls have stood for centuries," he said softly. "They will stand for centuries more." It was such a small sentence, spoken gently, almost lovingly, but it was the first step toward the mistake that would consume everything. Far beyond Aranthia's glittering cities lay the gray-wood frontier, a rugged northern territory of wind-carved cliffs and shadowy pine forests. For generations, small tribes lived there, fierce, nomadic, and perpetually scattered. They raided each other far more often than they raided the empire. Because of this, Aranthia's rulers considered them insignificant. But history often hides its sharpest blade where no one bothers to look. Among those tribes rose a leader unlike any before, Kalar Drav, known to his people as the Wolf of the North. Kalar was clever, steady, patient, all the qualities Aranthian nobles believed savages could not possess. He grew up watching his people struggle, not because they lacked strength, but because they lacked unity. Where others saw scattered clans, Kalar saw potential. Quietly, one tribe at a time, he built alliances. He settled disputes older than living memory. He taught the clans to fight not as lone wolves, but as a pack. And while the Empire ignored the frontier, Kalar studied it. He watched the trade routes, saw how thin the patrols had grown, noticed the watchtowers where guards lounged instead of training. He learned the rhythm of the Empire, when it slept, when it grew careless, when it exhaled in comfort. The Empire believed the North was quiet. In truth, it was listening and waiting.
It happened on a warm summer evening during a routine council meeting. The Empire was preparing for its annual harvest festival, a season of music, lanterns, and indulgence. Resources were stretched thin. Everyone's focus was on celebration, not security. A weary official approached the emperor with a simple request. "Your Majesty, shall we reinforce the northern garrisons during the festival month? Patrol numbers have been low." It was an ordinary administrative question, something a ruler answered dozens of times a week. Emperor Lysan barely looked up. "The north," he murmured. "There is nothing there but trees and winter wind. Move the soldiers south. The festival needs them." A single wave of his hand, a single moment of dismissal. The council bowed. The order was recorded. And that night, dozens of watchtowers began signaling each other. Withdraw half the troops. Frontier no longer priority. When Kalar Drav heard this through his scouts, he smiled, the kind of smile that appears only once in a lifetime, when destiny opens a door. The mistake had been made. The Empire didn't feel it. Not yet. Empires rarely notice the moment their fall begins. It is always too small, too quiet, too harmless. Until it isn't. 2 moons later, when Aranthia was lost in festival fireworks and drunken music, Kalar struck. The attack was not loud, it was not dramatic, it was not a screaming charge. It was a whisper in the dark. One by one, frontier towers were overwhelmed, not by massive armies, but by small, elite units who had memorized every blind spot, every shift rotation, every weak door hinge. The Empire had assumed brute force was the only threat. Kalar knew better. He used silence as a weapon. Before sunrise, entire fortresses had fallen without sending a single warning signal. By the next evening, Kalar's forces controlled every mountain pass leading south. Aranthia still danced, still laughed, still believed the world was safe. Their empire had already been pierced, but the wound had not yet begun to bleed. When the first survivors reached the capital, dusty and terrified, the emperor froze. "How?" he whispered. "The north is harmless." But empires do not get second chances. Aranthia scrambled armies together, but morale was soft from years of peace. Generals argued, supplies were unprepared. Soldiers marched with confusion instead of confidence. Kalar's united tribes swept downward like a tide released from a broken dam. Aranthia fought bravely. It resisted city after city. But every battle exposed another truth. An empire that forgets fear, forgets how to survive. The fall took months, slow, painful, inevitable. In the end, Emperor Lysan stood upon the balcony of his once glorious palace and watched smoke rise across the land he loved. And in that moment, he understood. It wasn't betrayal. It wasn't sorcery. It wasn't overwhelming force. It was one decision, one small misjudgment, One moment of blindness made by a ruler who trusted in invincibility. A single mistake that lost an empire.